welcome to the July the 5th, 2005 taping of It Happened in Grand Prairie. As we bring you the history of our city and some of the wonderful, wonderful people that have caused that history to happen and are still making history this very day. And we are very, very honored today to have a very special young man and his beautiful wife, because we're doing an exit interview with a little bit of regret, but with happiness for the Honorable Frank Robertson and Miss Bobby. And Mr. Frank, welcome to the set.
Thank you, Ruth. It's good to be with you.
Oh, we're
Good to
just
be with
so
you.
excited. Miss Bobby, thank you for coming to be
Sure
with him
thing.
and
Thank you for having me.
sharing this wonderful
I
interview.
appreciate you doing this, Ruthie.
Oh, well, we're kind of excited about your leaving, Mr. Frank Robertson, because when we get into the nuts and bolts of your career in Grand Prairie, Texas, people are going to find out how very long you have been a part and a moving force in the city of Grand Prairie, Texas, and its environs, because the local city of Grand Prairie, when you became into it, was a very small place compared
Yes,
to
it
what
was.
it is
Yes, it
today.
was.
So,
You're very kind, Ruthie. Thank you.
with your permission, we'd like to begin by asking you to please tell us about the real Frank Robertson. We'd like for you to name your parents, first of all,
Okay.
giving us your mother's maiden name,
Okay.
and if you have siblings, which I know you had, I'd like for you to name them, please.
Well, Ruthie, it's a pleasure. I do that with great memories of my mother and father.
Yes.
My father's nickname was Buck. His name was Alvy, but everybody knew him by Buck. My mother's maiden name was Watson, Anna Mae Watson.
That's a famous name in
That's
Grand
a
Prairie,
famous
Texas.
name in Arlington.
Yes.
Let me back up. Arlington is a place that the Watson name is very familiar.
Yes.
In fact, her father's log cabin, which was located on 360, exactly where the Cracker Barrel is today, is now in the city park in Arlington, in downtown Arlington.
Yes. A family home.
Yes, the Watson community was my grandfather. They donated land for the school, for the church, and for the cemetery. And 360 was Watson Road, and still parts of it south of I-20 is still called Watson Road. On the Robertson side, Ruthie, the Robertsons, my father's uncles, Bob and Frank, for whom I was named, had a livery stable in downtown Grand Prairie. If folks know what a livery stable is.
That's horses and buggies and wagons.
That's
isn't
right. And you know, the Robertson Road and the Robertson family is it's sort of gone along with Grand Prairie for many, many years.
And there's
Ruthie.
one important place. How about the Watson Cemetery?
The Watson Cemetery on
Yes.
360, a very historic place with a
Yes.
history marker that you were responsible for placing out there. And that's where all my family is buried. And the other member of the family is my sister, Jo Campbell.
Yes.
I think everybody in Grand Prairie probably knows who Jo Campbell is. If not,
Yeah.
she's been very active in every aspect of the community and is loved by a lot of people, Ruthie,
And admired greatly.
and admired greatly. Yes, she is.
Yes,
That's
she
true.
is. That's
true.
wonderful.
That's true.
Now, where'd you go to school, Frank?
Well, I grew up in Shady Grove,
All right.
Ruthie, and graduated out there, a little two-room school.
All right.
Husband taught one grade, 4 grades, and the wife taught 3 grades. And they
Who
loved her.
was your favorite teacher at
Didn't
Shady
have but
Grove?
one. Mr. and Miss Schultz was.
Mr. and Miss Schultz. They were it.
They were it. And they lived
Yes.
in a little house there on the premises, and went to school there, and then went to Grand Prairie High School.
Yes.
Rode the old bus when it wasn't flooding. Back in those days, Beltline flooded out quite often,
Yes.
if you'll recall.
Yes.
So other than floods, that's where I went to school, Grand Prairie.
What's the magic year at Grand Prairie High School you graduated?
1942.
1942 Gopher.
Yes, ma'am.
Tell me about, was there a favorite person at Grand Prairie High School when you got up there that was just really encouraged you?
Oh, I had so many favorites, Ruthie. I'd hate to start.
And the principal?
Ruthie, you're calling on me to do something.
Let's don't go to the principal. Let's get your favorite teacher.
Miss Hyatt was one of
Oh,
my.
Verena Hyatt.
Verena Hyatt was one of my
Oh,
favorite teachers.
she was
yes.
wonderful,
yes,
wasn't
she? Yes, she was.
And did you play sports or what?
For a while, until I was injured playing football, I did that, I think, for maybe a year and a half. And Ruthie, people won't realize that at that time, football was played in a field right off of Southworth 3rd Street.
It was a cinder field, wasn't it?
About 3 blocks south of Jefferson.
Yeah,
We walked from the high school every day down there to practice, and that's where we played, you know. But I graduated in 42 and have some great memories of that. A lot of my friends, that I graduated with are passed on, but
yes.
we get together rather regularly. When I say that, I mean every 2 or 3 years we get together. And those that are left, we still have a good time being together, Ruthie.
You bet. That's
Yeah,
wonderful.
yeah.
And after you graduated from high school, did you get to work and come on down? That's about wartime.
Well, Ruthie, a lot of folks won't understand what I'm going to say, but I graduated in 42, and I did work shortly, a very short period of time, for the Texas Pacific Railway in Dallas.
Oh, good.
But back at that time, the right thing for a young man to do was to volunteer and get in the Navy or the Army or the Air Force or something.
Mm-hmm.
And most of us who graduated together went into the service within
Yes.
6 or 7 months.
Yes.
I secured my mother and father's permission to enlist. I was 17 years old, but I enlisted in the Navy and served there for about 3.5 years. And
Where did you get your basic training?
well, I was aboard an aircraft carrier for about 2.5 of those years, Ruthie, and rest of the time was just at various naval stations around the country. But
Did you remember the carrier's name?
yes, the USS Rangers.
Rangers.
CV-4. Then after the war, I enlisted in the reserves down at the Naval Air Station and was called back into active duty during the Korean War and served about 1.5 years, but I served that time at the Naval Air Station there in Grand Prairie.
Oh,
So
that's wonderful.
had a good career in the Navy and enjoyed it very much.
All right,
Thankfully.
I'm going to leave you for a moment, and
Yes.
I'm going to bring Bobby up to
Very
snuff.
good.
All
Very
right,
good.
Bobby.
Very good.
Let's tell a little bit about your folks, where you were born, your parents' name, if you had brothers or sisters.
Ruthie, I was born in a little town south of Fort Worth in Itasca.
Yes.
And I lived there and went to school. We moved from Itasca into Dallas right after I finished high school.
Okay.
I finished in 1943
All right, at Itasca High
in
School.
Itasca.
Favorite teacher, favorite subjects at Itasca? Anybody that just really impressed you there?
Well, they impressed me to work harder, I'll tell you that.
And get out of that way.
They all had a hand in that.
Well, that's good.
But I did enjoy high school. I didn't pursue as heavily and as much as I should have.
Yes.
I can look back now and see where I could have done better. And I hope that students these days will take that advantage.
And your parents' names?
My mother and father were Cecil and Mattie Lou Douglas. Daddy was working at North American, and this is why we moved to Dallas.
Good.
And I rode the bus back and forth into Dallas, and I worked for Gulf Insurance for 3 or 4 years. That was quite an experience.
Yes.
And then, of course, in June of 1946, when Frank came home from the Navy, we were in church one day, and I had an opportunity to meet Frank. And that's where it all began.
And now tell me what church, this magic
It
church
was
where you
First-
met him.
Yes, First Baptist Church of Grand Prairie.
Grand Prairie, Texas. Oh, what a
That's
meeting
right.
place.
That's right.
Yes.
And we have been in the church for so many years. Now, we were gone, transferred for about 15 years.
Yes.
1953 to 1967, I believe that comes out about right.
Okay.
And Frank was in the insurance business. We came back to Grand Prairie and have been here for 37 years.
37 continuous
In fact,
years.
it is this month in July
Yes.
that we celebrated our event coming back to Grand Prairie and picking up where we left off.
Yes.
Now we're getting ready to move on and relocate. And it's been 37 years, and it's
37
been a
years.
wonderful time.
That's what, and you've been married how long?
Well, it will be 59 years. We married in 46. And I
Okay.
believe it'll be 59 this December.
That doesn't seem possible, but it's coming down the pike,
Right,
isn't it?
right.
That's
That
true.
is wonderful.
We have 3 children,
All right, let's name them.
Ruthie. We have Larry, Carolyn, and David.
Okay.
Larry lives in Quitman, and that's one reason we're going down there to be with him. And
He's the cotton picking mayor of Quitman,
he
isn't
sure is.
Oh.
Got his car business there, has been quite successful.
And where's Carolyn?
Carolyn is between Mineola and Grand Saline.
And her last name now?
Landers, Landers.
Okay, all right.
She's now teaching at Tyler Junior College. And fortunately, she's able to teach most all of her classes by internet and
Oh, isn't that
not have to
good?
go into Tyler each day. That's wonderful.
What a blessing. How about David?
David is with the Mannheim, which was Dallas Auto Auction here on Keast Boulevard in Dallas. And he's been there for several years, doing well. Lives in Arlington.
Okay, we're going to forgive him of that right today.
Married-
That's
married
good.
Lisa.
Married. They are all married, of course. David is married to Lisa,
All right,
who was Don Davis's stepdaughter.
all right.
David has one son, Reed, by his first marriage, and Reed will be a senior at the University of Oklahoma
Oh, how wonderful.
this fall. Carolyn does not have children. Larry has 3.
All right.
Leslie O'Brien, she lives in Quitman. Lori McCombie, and she lives in Quitman.
All right.
And Gordon Shockley. Leslie has a daughter, Helen, and Lori has 3, Gabe, Keegan, and Chloe.
You're doing better than I could do with all of the greats.
So we
Man, that is wonderful. What a precious, precious family.
We've just been blessed in a wonderful way that we have been able to be reacquainted with Gordon Shockley after a number of years.
That,
But it's good to have him with us
Good.
and one of us.
that is wonderful. All right, I've got to get back, and we know that y'all have been married 59 years and met at the First Baptist Church. You've had a wonderful life in Grand Prairie, but you had a career too, and then I'm going to get back to Frank, but I want you to mention your banking career.
Well, I'll tell you, I went to work there in January of 1946. Worked for several years.
That's a
in
Grand Prairie State
Grand
Bank.
Prairie State Bank.
All right,
G.H. Turner was the president at that time.
okay.
Then we were transferred, and when we came back, I was fortunate enough to get a job back with the
Back with
Grand
the
Prairie,
bank.
back with the bank. And all in all, I worked for the bank for almost 30 years. Durwood Sutton, Norman Gilbert, Leonard Stewart, Lee Herring,
Some of the good ones.
that's right,
Avery.
and Mr. Ernest Avery,
Yes, were
bless
some-
his heart, and Maud Crawford.
and Mark
Yes.
Crawford.
She was assembled there too.
Yes, she was. Well, that's wonderful. What a history you have in the banking business too, and we ought to do a 30-minute segment just on you and all of your banking, but I got to get back to Frank. Frank has been
Thank
so busy. Frank, after your insurance career and moving back to Grand Prairie, what'd you do?
Well,
You've been insurancing
I was-
ever since?
I've been in the commercial insurance business since 1953, Ruthie.
All right, okay.
I was in Dallas. I had been with the Texas Employers Group, which was the largest group of casualty insurance companies in the Southwest. I had been with them for 28 years, served in their Abilene office as a sales rep during the oil boom, had some success, and they moved me as a manager of our Sherman operation. Had some success, and they moved me to manager of our Waco operation.
That was a big jump to
Had some
Waco.
success, and they moved me back as the district sales manager of their big office in Dallas. In 1980, I had been handling some of the largest commercial accounts in Dallas. That part of the account which I didn't handle was handled by an international insurance brokerage firm out of New York, Marsh and McLennan.
Yeah.
And as a result of I being involved in part of the program and Marsh McLennan being involved in part of the program, we had numerous meetings with our common client. And I don't know, I guess the good Lord was with me, but Marsh McLennan said, hey, we need you to come with us. So after 28 years, I left, retired from Employers and went with Marsh and McLennan and stayed there for another 16 years and retired there, Ruthie. as a senior vice president with them, handling some of the largest accounts that I had been handling with Texas employers, plus a lot of accounts that they had there. But a marvelous career. I traveled extensively all over the country and to London and Bermuda, and it was just a great career. I look back with a great deal of pride on what an old country boy was. God was good enough to let me have the kind of career I
Oh,
had.
that is a marvelous sounding career.
I really enjoyed it, and I have a world of friends all over the country and businesses that I did business with, and good things come to my mind about my working days, Ruthie.
Well, I hear all kind of good things about you, Frank Robertson.
Well,
I hear that you're a wonderful song leader at the First Baptist Church and all of this. And Mr. Jackson brags on you quite extensively. He said, now Frank has a good voice.
Well,
And plus the fact that you got into many things in Grand Prairie as community service. Aren't you a Rotarian?
yes, ma'am. I've been a Rotarian now for some, I guess, 35 years. I was president of our Rotary Club in Waco when I left there, Ruthie.
Yes.
And I was quite busy and on the road a lot when I came here and never really wanted to get that involved in the Rotary.
Yes.
But I've been an active member now ever since we moved back.
Who twisted your arm for the school board service?
Well, before I answer that, let me talk about my singing.
Oh, yeah, let's talk
Carolyn
about
is a
those.
very accomplished pianist, and
Yes.
even at her young age, she and I started leading the music in our church in Waco, in our Sunday school classes, and then when we moved back here, we did the singing in every department, I guess, of our church. And I currently, Laura Arnold now is my pianist, Bill Arnold's wife.
How
and
wonderful.
we've been doing the music in our adult sixth group for 6 or 7 or 8 years now. I don't know whether I have any capability of singing. I know I like to try, and I can get folks to respond. And so I look forward to Sunday
I've
morning.
heard good things.
I look forward to Sunday mornings, really, Sunday school and church, but singing is one of the things I really look forward to. Thank you for asking.
Yes. Now let's get to the school board business. When did all of that happen? What were you doing? What was the impetus in getting Frank
Well,
involved in the school board races and finally won a seat on the school board, became president of the school board, all of the good
yeah,
stuff?
well, I guess the thing that interests me, that would have taken place, don't pin me down to dates, but we're talking about early 70s.
Yes. When the kids were in school?
Carolyn and David were in school. Larry had
Uh-huh.
already graduated from high school, Richfield High School in Waco. But you know, I had an interest in seeing if I could make a contribution.
Yes.
I was appointed, as you may well recall, to my first term on the school board. I think it was
Fill a vacancy.
it was Dr. Collop, I believe, who left. I'm not sure of that now, but the board appointed me to fill that vacancy, and I was elected 3 terms after that, or 4 terms. I think those were 2-year terms, so I was elected 4 times. Served as president for 2 terms, and I don't know, Ruthie, we made a lot of progress in our school system. I don't mean that the school system was in trouble. I don't mean to infer that at all. But
It was growing.
but it was growing, and we had a lot of needs. We had to face some tough tax issues.
Yeah.
But as I look back, sometimes I wonder, hey, did I make a contribution? I hope I did. But this was during the time of forced integration, forced busing,
Yeah.
and we would have school board meetings, and people would be there at 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning.
Yes.
You know, trying to, hey, is there some way you can get out of doing this? Do you have to bust them, you know? Very tumultuous times, Ruthie, but we came through and made a lot of progress, built a lot of new facilities, and
Made a lot of new friends.
made a lot of new friends, and
Yes.
purchased some property down south that we thought would someday be school sites, and sure enough they were. We
Yes.
saved the school district quite a bit of money. Those were good years, Ruthie. Hard-working years. I had super people that I served on the board with, and I just look back on those with a lot of pride too, Ruthie.
Well, the city of Grand Prairie, and especially the Grand Prairie ISD, is very grateful for
Well-
wonderful leadership, because you had a business mind You were a
Well-
businessman that was successful, and anything that you do leading him in that direction is really of a great help to all of the taxpayers in Grand Prairie, Texas. I
Well,
think.
you're grateful to say that, Ruthie. Appreciate it very much.
Yes. And after the school board service, you kind of floated around for a while, but then
Well,
what happened?
but then, you know, I made the switch in my career from one company to Marsh
Yes,
in McClellan in 1980. I had accounts all over the United States, and I guess in about 14 states. I was on the road a lot, making trips again abroad. I really didn't have time, but I'd always said on the school board, hey, someday I think I would like to try to be a council person.
Yes.
So it was in, you know, 94. There was about 14 years there where didn't feel like I had the time to devote to it, but when that slowed down, I said, well, here's the time, and I think if I'm not mistaken, excuse my memory doesn't always work right, but I think
1992 was the
Tony
magic
Robertson
year.
is the gentleman
Yes.
who gave up his seat, and I ran for that seat, and that was in 94, and so I've had, what, 5 elections since then, or 6,
Yes.
whatever it was. We're on 2-year terms, but it's been a great run, Ruthie. It's been a great run. Seen a lot of things happen. You know, this is a history program today, and there's a lot of folks who don't really understand what Grand Prairie was back in the 40s.
Exactly.
As I recall, our population at that time was about 1,800. Arlington population was something like 1,500. Irving had a population of about 1,200.
1,200.
Then North American came in, and you know, people started coming, and we got the reputation of being a blue-collar city, a little town just on the railroad track between Dallas and Fort Worth. And my, how that has changed.
Hasn't that
We're
changed?
now, in my opinion, the envy of the Metroplex,
Yes. And still have room to grow.
and still got room to grow, right, and still going to grow. That's right, Ruthie. But that's some background that folks may not realize, you know.
Now, you're going to have to brag a little bit about some guy that helped you on this Cotton Picking City Council that is our famous mayor.
Oh, Charlie is one of my very dearest friends. Charlie's been an inspiration to me for a long time. Charlie he and I served together on the school board in the
Yes,
first place for about 3 or 4 years. And I came on board the council, I guess, the year after Charlie was elected mayor.
In 92, when he was elected mayor,
Yes.
you came on the following year in 94.
Yeah, yes, I did. You know, all I've got to say about Charlie is that he's probably the most aggressive, successful, dedicated mayor in the state of Texas. I don't want anybody to misinterpret what I'm going to say. We've had good mayors in the past, but I believe Charlie has been the best mayor for the city of Grand Prairie we've ever had.
He has worked
You know, he's a hard
harder.
worker. He dedicates himself to it, spends a lot of time. He's a good negotiator.
Yes, he is.
Charlie has vision. He can see beyond tomorrow, and a lot of us don't have that.
Yes.
But he does, and I appreciate that guy and his better half. She's a sweetheart too.
She really
Yeah,
is. Janice is really great.
You bet.
That's wonderful. Now, serving on the city council, you had some special assignments. I'd like to know some of the things you've done, like your transportation. You were on T21. You had
yeah.
something to do on COG. They're always sending you on special committees. Are you on the budget committee or
No,
the
ma'am.
development committee?
Ruthie, I've been on the development committee for the last 4 or 5 years now, and I've
Yeah.
really enjoyed that. That's where a lot of things begin to happen in the
Yes.
development committee, and that we try to develop policies that will encourage the kind of development that we want. But that's been a pleasure serving on that committee. I was appointed to the Dallas Regional Mobility Coalition
Yes.
several years ago, which is a group of mayors and our city council people from every city within the entire Metroplex, and they deal primarily with transportation issues and environmental issues. They meet in North Dallas, which is not not an easy commute for this
That's
old man
right.
these days, but I've enjoyed that. I've been a member of the Sports Corporation, the Grand Prairie Sports Development Corporation, since I was put on that immediately, I think, when I went on the council. So I can remember from the groundbreaking up to where we are today with Lone Star Park.
And
that's
you remember
been,
last October the 30th.
Yes. Mhm.
Oh, wasn't that a something else to come to Grand Prairie, the Breeders' Cup
The
for
Breeders'
the first
Cup.
time?
Grand Prairie was seen worldwide that day, and it's been nice to have had a little part in that from the very beginning until its present time, and I look back with that with a lot of pride, Ruthie. Not that I've done anything; I've had a little part maybe, but I take a lot of pride in what's been accomplished out there.
Well, you have a unique position on the council in that there are 3 people that are elected at large
Yes.
over all of the city of Grand
Yes.
Prairie, which is Tarrant County, all of the counties.
Yes.
And that takes every person in Grand Prairie gets to vote
Yes, it
for
does.
or against
Yes,
you.
it does. Yes, it does.
Has that been exciting?
Yes, ma'am. That means a lot of hard work when you're running
When
for
you're
office.
running for office.
Miss Ruthie and I and the mayor, we don't just have a small district in the town. If we want to knock doors or put out circulars or put out yard signs, our job is the entire city, which, folks, if you don't understand, is 22 miles long and 12 miles wide. And if you're gonna knock doors, you better get you some pretty heavy-duty shoes, you know.
Get your shoes on.
That's right. But that's been a pleasure. Ruthie. You know, you and I represent the entire city of Grand Prairie and not just a given district, and I think that gives you and I maybe a better perspective of the overall where we're going, you know.
We're at the end of our interview. You have 2 minutes.
Just want to say
thank
to the folks
everyone.
of Grand Prairie, on Bobby and I's behalf, that it's been a real pleasure for me and an honor and a privilege. Number 1, to have been a citizen of your city. Number 2, it's been an honor and a privilege to try to serve you in an elected position for something over 20 years now. And I'm just going to say, Ruthie, that Bobby and I leave with a tear coming out of one eye of sorrow and a tear of expectation coming out the other one,
And a big smile.
and a big smile. But I don't leave with any doubt we have a very dedicated, committed council. We have a very dedicated and committed staff at City Hall, all of which have vision for the future. We have a great leader in Mr. Charles England as our mayor.
Yes, we do.
And I have no doubt that this city will continue to grow and to prosper and will continue to be the envy of the Metroplex, Ruthie. And I wish you well, the council well, city staff well, and it's just going to say it's been a pleasure and thank you for the opportunity to let me serve.
That's wonderful. And Bobby, he didn't leave you very much time, but you can say thank you to all of Grand Prairie.
That's true. We've thoroughly enjoyed it, and as he said, we're looking forward. We'll be coming back
Yes.
to check on you and to
Yes.
see how well you are doing.
Yes, he's
Thank
going
you.
to he's going to keep his pulse, keep his finger on the pulse of Grand Prairie, whether he's in Quitman or wherever. I want to thank you all for being
City
such,
Hall has got me on the mailing list to send me something
Yes.
once in a while. Okay, Ruthie, excuse me.
y'all are such a blessing to
Thank
Grand
you.
Prairie, Texas. Thank you for all you have done for Grand Prairie for all of the years. The Robertson name will really be held high in honor, and of course they named a building in your honor, the municipal building. We should thank everyone for that, but we don't have time, so everybody come to Grand Prairie and see the Frank Robertson Municipal Building.
Thank you, Ruthie. It's
And-
quite an honor, and I appreciate it.
You bet. And this is Ruthie Jackson reminding you that history is as we live and do and document it.